What's going on YouTube? It is Adrian Hawkins of HawkFit bringing you another video in the series, Rehabbing an Injured Athlete. Now I know before I said we were going to be done with the series, but we decided and we talked about it, and there was one more area that we didn't really talk about that we're going to try to bring up, and we are going to talk specifically about the Psoas Minor today. And that is going to include details of the back because it's connected to the spine. We're going to be looking at your abdominal muscles and your hips, since they are attached to the attachment comes from your spine to your hips. So we're going to be looking at issues with limited mobility, particularly in the legs, so like a leg extension, and flexibility issues. And dealing with these issues can hopefully bring you up to a stronger squat, maybe a stronger deadlift, better mobility in terms of abs, being able to get the full range of motion. So with that being said, let's get you to the doctor.
We're going to talk about injury to the core. What's the core? When someone says your core, I believe it means not just the superficial rectus abdominis. I'm believing they're talking about your hip flexors, which are the psoas minor, the psoas major, and the iliacus. Those combined create something they call the iliopsoas. If we look at this diagram here, you can see how the injury can occur. There's three components to the ilioflexors. You have the minor, which originates from T12 and L1 and runs all the way to an eminence, that's iliopubic eminence, right there at the top of that pelvis cage or girdle. And then right under there is a bigger but larger psoas. They call that the psoas major. And you can see where these originate from. This is L number 4, L3, L2, L1. Those start as different little subunits, and then they create one big unit which goes down, runs under that inguinal ligament right there, and attaches to the a process or an eminence that comes out of your inner femur or the big leg bone. And that's what helps you flex your trunk. So when you're bending down, these muscles have to tighten up, and then it shortens, and thus you bend forward. An injury to that can happen when you're running or when you're doing some of those plyometrics. A lot of people, when they overstretch, this can spasm and it will compact the lower back, the lumbar region, and then any nerves that come out of that, you can create an impingement through the foramens between those transverse processes that you see there. So our injury can be a strain of the muscle, or you can get a sprain of the tendons, sprain of the ligaments. So these are the tendons right there. So you can get someone irritated right on the inner thigh of the quad if these muscles are too tight without stretching, or you can just get some muscle cramp in there. So you say, I feel like my innards are cramping up, but usually that's what's going on with that. As a chiropractor, if I was going to adjust, some of those. I would adjust lumbar 1, lumbar 2, lumbar 3. Those are some of the adjustments I'll do. Because what happens if one of these muscles, because there's two of them, they happen bilaterally. So if this muscle is tighter, it will rotate one of those transverse processes which it originates from, and it will make you have a right rotation of one of these lumbar segments or the vertebrae. So I'll adjust your lower back. Some of that pain comes from either the imbalance of one of these. So you'll see someone is leaning more towards the left or someone's leaning more towards the right. Usually one of these are one of the reasons that would cause that discomfort. That's giving you an antalgia, leaning, a painful walk. So that's the discussion we'll have today. Therapy for these muscles and therapy for those tendons or ligaments. Sometimes when these muscles are so tight, they will do what? They'll push on to that ligament, the inguinal ligament or the canal that runs across and goes right to the pubis, which is the front part of your pelvis there. And then those can be very, very painful. Okay? People who are doing leg lifts, when they have a clicking hip, this is what creates that clicking hip. Between that the psoas being so tight, running over some of these ligaments, and then creates that hip click, 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 click. The clicking hip, they call it. All right? So that's what we'll go for today.
Laying down.
Yeah. All right. So move down.
A little bit.
So when he's laying down like this, right away, we can hear, if he can tell us a feedback. Right away, because of the gravity and the weight of his legs, as we talked about earlier in the images, the flexors originate from a little bit high up here on the spine of the T12, L1, L2, L3, and they come as separate units, and then they combine into one big psoas major, and then they come and attach at the top of the humerus right there. Now what I'm feeling, that ropiness, there's ropiness there, that's the gracilis. Those are some of the adductor muscles that he has in his quad. Of course, so that also is resisting the stretch of the flexor. So that's when I come in and I find the connection of it, and I dig deep in there. I rotate. I'm going to use the other side, so it's good.
The other side. Yeah, this side I can, just from laying here,
You can feel this.
this side goes lower.
Yeah.
This side has more resistance.
Yeah.
But this is the side you always do work on.
Yeah, the right side.
The right side.
So I am going to go into the psoas. I try and by me bending it, it allows me to go deeper on the flexor. I rotate it, and when I come to the bottom there,
Did you feel that?
yeah, I did. I stretch that. Do you feel that stretch
Yes.
on the quad or on the flexor?
Feel it down here. That's where I feel the pull.
So that's the rotation that we do, and then back to that, and then gravity again takes over. And
So you don't need weighted resistance.
you don't need weight. You don't need weight resistance, but if you can get a workout partner to help you do that, that's a good start for your flexors. So I always suggest 4 minutes, or you can kind of increase it daily. So start with 2 minutes, because sometimes if you do 4 minutes, it can be too aggressive, and then it ends up doing what? The reverse, making it spasm more. Especially if you're not conditioned for stretches. You know, your muscle will fight you back, and it will show what? It will tell you don't do that again by spasming even worse. But that's a start where we're here laying with a spread of the quads like this, so that the attachment which goes from here, the psoas that attaches to the inner humerus or femur, right there. And I know that
This does not feel good.
Yeah. So, and what I'm doing is I'm digging into some of that extension of the flexor, and also there's the adductor magnus and the adductor minors. And then I'm running right on that ligament there, because that flexor also can be very tight, that it pushes onto that abdominal ligament. And then again I do what? I grab that and I push.
All right, so when we're doing the stretching, the butterfly stretches, should this be
That click, yeah. So
4 minutes in one
So I just
setting, or like increments of 30
Oh.
seconds and then break and then 30
I think you
seconds?
should go 1 minute. You should go 1 minute. And what I'm doing now is I'm digging onto sartorius. Because,
That is painful.
because what has happened is every time we've done that, it just clicked.
Whew.
So,
I will fight you.
all right, so let's try that. So let's try that again.
Whew.
There.
Not as much though.
Yeah. So now we'll do.
Oh, I remember Kirk saying he's fought you before. There is nothing pleasant about this right now.
Okay, so I want you to rotate that, and I'm going to grab that sartorius. Go for it.
So
rotate. Okay.
ooh, there was almost nothing on that one. So when he mentioned about having like your hip click, I've had that probably since like 2002, 2003, and I just thought it was something that I had. Maybe my hips were not properly lined up, but then he mentioned that no, it's just because one side is extremely tight. And so now he's working it, and each time I rotate it, there's not as much clicking going on, and the last time he rotated it, there was almost nothing, which is strange because I've always had that.
And the muscles are so tight and they're large, and they pull, and okay, give me that rotation again.
It's very painful. This is not as bad. That feels pretty good.
Yep.
But the digging
Yeah.
is painful, especially right on the sensitive spots.
Okay, good. All right. So it probably has a muscle memory, that sartorius, so it will click again some more. But at least temporarily the clicking stopped. He has such a strong muscle memory of that sartorius, and that sartorius will keep doing that. But this is a good start for it.
So then for someone like myself that is so used to this, has been lifting this way and just been living this way for so long, how often, how many times a day would you suggest that I do a stretch like this?
5 times a day if you can do it.
5 times a day?
And that will loosen that up. So usually after doing this, stand up and see how that feels walking.
All right. So great. Let's see if I can walk this way. I mean, it feels good, feels normal. Where I would actually notice the most is on doing some sort of ab workout, something where this type of motion or this type of motion.
Flexing. So
Where I'm flexing, doing like decline abs, some sort of ab resistance workout.
okay, let's do some high
Leg raises.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if I was to do like have a medicine ball or a large ball in between, and I was doing
Let's do
like,
an imaginary huddle. An imaginary huddle. Yep, there you go.
Alright. Or something. So yeah, now there's no clicking.
Okay, that's good. All right. So that's a flexor. That's a flexor combined with the sartorius that's creating that hip on there. What happens is the muscle is pulling the bone out of the joint and dropping it so quickly, and then it clicks. And then also that ligament is running across the tuberance and is creating that sound, coming out of the groove, getting back in the groove, coming out of the groove, getting back in the groove. And that creates a click. The sartorius runs from the medial portion of the lower, of the higher distal anterior tibia, and then anterior tibia, and then it goes from here, from the proximal anterior tibia, and runs, crosses the joint of the knee, and then runs and joins at the anterior superior iliac spine up on the pelvic girdle, right there. You feel that there?
Yeah.
Right on top of where the rectus femoris goes and joins the knee. It's crazy how that happens, but it does happen. All right. So usually at this point, if the discomfort was on the right, which is for him, that's the one that I'll adjust on the lower back. So lay on your right, on your left side. And this should go a little easier because of Flexor Stretch.
For you?
That should go a little easier because of the stretching that we just did. And I have history with him, so I know how his right side is. And I think that's also contributed towards because of the last year. It's just muscle mass over here, guys, that I'm dealing with here. So it doesn't make my work any easier. There. All right, so that's a flexor treatment and how I treat that flexor. Of course, the flexor, the opposite of the flexor is what? Is the glute. So because his glutes will be hard, so I probably will give a little bit of tension of deep tissue release on the glute, because the work of the glute is to extend the leg, the work of the flexor is to flex the knee. You see what I mean? You understand what I'm saying? Adrian?
Yep.
All right.
To extend the knee, to flex.
So while we're right there, other things that you can do to stretch your flexors are lunges, but really deep lunges. So you
Forward
1 foot
or
forward.
lateral?
So you give me a good kick, like as if you're doing a hurdle, a clearing hurdle. There you go, and then down.
And then hold it?
And then you hold it. And then your knee locks on the ground, anchor, the left knee anchors on the ground, and you pull your quad towards you. Pull your foot towards you. Yeah, and you assist it using your hands, yeah? I think you're gonna crank up my rope. There you go. Oh, look at that. And then you drop in deeper. So that's a good flexor stretch, and I got it. Whew. All right? It's just Mr. Muscle Bound. A lot of times, if
We're not flexible athletes here.
so a lot of times he can put his knee there, kind of grow into that, and then drops in there. So try to put your knee on there. Yeah, and then grab that, yep. And then still that quad. There you go. That's exactly right. What does that feel like, Adrian, for you?
Well, this is easier than doing it down
On the
there.
ground. But you can start there and then grow from there, yeah? That's right. That's good.
All right.
And then you should do, that's your right side, so that's your
Yes.
full side. All right, another adjustment that we do for that high flexor.
So how many sets and reps for that? Would it be?
It's actually an isometric workout
Okay.
where the muscle is being worked without moving the joint.
Okay.
So that's what I would do. And then hold it for 30 seconds
30
in
seconds.
4 sets.
4 sets.
Yeah,
So 4 sets, 30 seconds each time,
yeah.
both sides.
Both sides, bilaterally.
Alright.
And give attention more to the side that's tighter than the other.
Okay.
Yeah. So you start with the butterfly stretches, and then the deep huddler lunge, and then you do the butterfly like we did, and then we do the adjustment if you have a chiropractor that you can go see, and then we do the deep huddler lunge, and you can do the forward lunge or you can do the backward lunge. The backward lunge triggers the glutes on the opposite side. So that's the one where you, instead of going forward, when you're down there, you reach back to trigger the glutes and the hamstrings for that. Do you want to demonstrate to them?
So going in reverse. So if I'm down, doing this, like that.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. So you can trigger the glute, and the glute is the opposite.
Going
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. There you
Yeah.
go. Good.
And if I was to switch up my legs,
There you go.
and then
There you go. Good. That's it. That's it. All right. You should. I mean, tell them what that felt like for you.
it
It was painful, especially when they're digging in right on your muscles. It's very painful.
But what did the flexors stretching the hammer lunge? How did that feel like?
After doing that, I definitely feel a little more balanced. It's not as tight. I can feel my muscles right now actually fighting it.
Because of muscle memory.
And it wants to go back
to what it knows.
But it's just been adjusted. So it's in something, the muscle's in a new position. It's different. It's not used to it. And it's wanting to go back. But as of right now, when I'm moving the hips or I'm doing an ab workout, there's no clicking, which is strange because I've had it for so many years.
Yeah, well, give it a day or two and they will want to pick it up.
It will come back.
They want that memory, but then that's where you do those really deep baseball deals. You know, you put that baseball on the ground and you just roll on that.
So you're saying grab a baseball.
Yeah, and just roll on
it.
Yeah, that would
put
help.
It in there.
Because what it's trying, you're just trying to lengthen that sartorius. That's all you're doing. Because that sartorius is what's creating that tightness in there.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Absolutely.
So now let's adjust you for your higher level of your flexor. Okay.
Okay.
So I've never adjusted you like this before. Maybe I have. Maybe I haven't.
All right. So what am I doing now?
So you lay facing down, stay on your knees.
Hands here?
Yeah,
or
no, your hands are just down, your face up. Bring your knees back so that this dips in a little bit. There you go. And then just try and relax a little bit. I'm going to let him relax. So this is called a knee adjustment. We're using a different kind of an adjustment table versus a side adjustment. I want to get into the highest part, T12, maybe the lowest part of his thoracics, but the highest part of his lumbar. So around there. So if for him it's his right side, so I'm going to adjust this part then. Do you feel the tightness on there?
I do.
Okay. All right. So this I've never done for him before. Breathe in and out. I'm going to do it on 6. Yeah. 1. Breathe in. 2. Down. 3. 4. There. Breathe it down. That's the 89.
That was good.
Yeah.
Very good. You almost got more on here than over
that's
there.
a different kind of adjustment.
Very.
That's deeper.
And so that will help
With the flexor, if you
the flexor.
I did adjust more the right side.
Okay.
Why? Because your tightness is more on the right side.
All right.
Yeah. And you will feel almost like the air is taken out of you too in that one.
Okay.
It goes deep right to your tummy, so you feel your stomach working in there too.
So there you go. I had more cracks and pops on the right side versus the left, which makes sense with what I've been doing. Everything on my body is basically I'm right side dominant. And so in all of my lifts, if I'm struggling, the right side will take over. And that's what's happening when he's adjusting me, is that everything is being tightened on the right side, so my left side is not picking up the slack. And so basically when he's adjusting me, everything on the right side is what needs to be adjusted, which is why there's more cracking or pops on the right side.
There's more alignment on the right side.
Yes.
All right, that's it.
That's it. All right. So are there any, in terms of lifting, anything
So
that
a
you do?
deadlift will be a good one. Or, so a deadlift in the sense of strengthening the other muscles of your, that usually support the agonists, that support the flexors, okay? I will do back extensions, because back extensions, what that does is it strengthens the other muscles so that the flexor, your core is not trying to do some of the work that the lower back is supposed to be doing. I will do swimmers or scissors. Why? Because that involves the flexors and your lower back. So you doing that, that will be a good exercise to help with that. And then I will do glutes so that it triggers the opposite movement of the flexor. so that there's a balance, because sometimes your glute might be overbearing, that the flexor is trying to do the opposite, but because the glute is so strong, the flexor has to work extra hard to match up the glutes. You see what I mean? So for me to do, I'll show you what I mean by that. So for me to do a high knee, when I do this high knee, that glute has to shut off. But if this glute is tight, I can't do the flexor because the glute is tight. So this has to shut off in order to do that. If this does not shut off and I'm trying to do a flexor, I will confuse the two muscles. Agonist, antagonist. The antagonist has to shut off, the agonist has to turn on. They work
In symmetry, yeah.
to help each other. So if your glutes are so tight and your flexors have to overcome that, you could create spasm in your flexors. They call it spraining a groin. You've heard that. Oh, what happened to him? He's not playing, or he's hurt his groin. That area is what they call the groin. Soccer players, people who kick, punters, when they kick, a lot of times they overstress that flexor. And they're stressing that, and the glute is not shutting off, so there's spasm in there.
Okay.
That's what it is. So Chinese, not the Chinese, they call it the zygon squats, are good because you're pointing your toes out and you're working your glutes. Adductor machines are really good for your flex exercises.
Okay.
All right?
And I will say now it's been several minutes after you've adjusted me, and I can start to feel it kicking in. Let's see if I can get this right here. I can start to feel it kicking in a little bit.
Well, welcome
right
to
up
that
here.
feeling. Yeah, welcome to that feeling. Let me bring it down for you.
So yeah, right in here, I can feel it just standing. I can feel it working. It's almost a little bit painful, maybe just because it's brand new and the muscle's being put back in a place that it hasn't been in years.
Well, everything is mechanical for you. Your body is mechanical. So a lot of time, to remedy an issue that has been a problem, you have to find a mechanical solution for it.
Okay.
Because your body is a machine. So for me to fix the machine so that the force, the pivot or the fulcrum and the load are, they have to work with those three principles of the machine. If they don't, then everything goes wrong. That's the click.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
So with this is your fulcrum, that's the load, and the muscle is doing the effort. That's one of the three principles of how machines work. And we're all machines.
There we go. There's no clicking. I'm doing this. I've had clicking probably since high school track, but now there's none of that. So that's probably at least.
It's a good start, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
15, 16 years.
So let's do those high knees again that you're just showing them.
So I was just doing. So basically, this was a hurdle exercise that we did in track, and I would always have clicking doing this, and now I don't have it.
But imagine if you would have told someone about that clicking, they would have found a solution for it in a way or so. You know, those flexors are the ones causing that. And then also another thing to help with your flexors is make sure that you develop your abs strong enough.
Strong abs.
Yeah, so that the core is just an assistant. Yeah, they're secondary to each other. They help each other.
So don't put off stretching like I did, and I do.
All right, well, thank you so much for letting me be part of it. I'll let you talk to anybody else. All right, brother?
All right, thank you. Well, there you go. There it is. Again, we decided we were thinking that we may or may not do this one, but essentially we felt like it was going to be helpful. The last video I uploaded, we were thinking about ending it, and we weren't really going to do anything with the abs, and we decided to do it just because why not, and we've we hope it's helpful. It's helpful for me. Hopefully it'll help me get back into some more efficient movements so that my weight, especially in the squats, will go up. But just for people in general, hopefully this helps you realize that something is mechanically not right with your body. That being said, I do believe the next series that we're going to venture into is dealing with mobility, maybe some mobility issues, how to remedy that, and then different types of mobility exercises to do either on an off day or just some quick mobility as a warm-up before you get into your lifts. That being said, hope you enjoyed this. Adrian Hawkins of HawkFit. Until next time, peace.